Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give his qualifications and to briefly discuss his top 2 priorities, if elected, and how he would address them. We will begin with candidate number 1. So, Dr. Trey Maurice, please state your qualifications and your top 2 priorities if elected, and how you would address them.
Trey Maurice, I'm a physician. I went to medical school just like my other candidates. I'm also a businessman. I've got an MBA from Tulane, and I'm currently at Dartmouth getting a master's in healthcare administration. Those are my educational qualifications. What I bring to the office is a long history of running successful businesses, turning around businesses, running administrations, working with people to improve efficiencies, economy of scale, and taking businesses, which the coroner's office is, into a positive cash flow situation. Currently, the coroner's office is running at about a $250,000 a year deficit. The budget's about $270,000. We make about $20,000 a year. The budget is pretty much set. So the only thing that we can really do is work with what we have. There are many, many areas in the coroner's office where we could cut costs. We have investigators that don't have adequate training. We have investigators that have only been there for training for 2 weeks at the absolute most, and some of them only 2 days, and they've been working for 4 years, and the budget doesn't allow for the training that they need. Also, in some cases, they don't have inventory. No one manages the inventory as well as what I intend to do is putting in an inventory management system so that we have body bags when we have a deceased person. We don't have to go to the scene without a body bag or borrow one from another parish. We also need to be able to pay for gloves and for basic supplies for our investigators to assist them in taking care of the community. So my goal is to bring a business perspective to the office to decrease the amount of money that we're wasting at this current time. I pledge to not take any of the money that I'm going to be given as a salary. I'm going to use all of the money for my salary to pay for training and to pay for supplies for the investigators. Once I'm able to create some efficiencies in the office where we actually have hopefully a surplus rather than losing $250,000 a year, then maybe in a year or 2, I might take a little salary back. But until I can actually make a difference in the coroner's office, run it like a business, make it more efficient, my salary will be going towards the department and towards the investigators, making sure that we have everything that we need that in some cases we have not been able to achieve because of the budget situation.
Thank you, Dr. Maurice. Next, candidate number 2, Dr. Albert. Please state your qualifications and your top 2 priorities, if elected, and how you would address them.
Aloha! I brought the Aloha spirit from Hawaii. I'm actually from Hawaii. I graduated from University of Hawaii and did my training at Tulane University and graduated there. After I finished my training, I planned to come to Morgan City because Fairview Hospital at that time was struggling in the early 80s, and the whole boom was gone, and they need somebody to come and help them out. I came here, and my main objective is to help the hospital to recover. We failed, and so I moved over to Morgan City. I fell in love with the people, your people. You guys are like brothers and sisters that I left behind. I didn't go back to Hawaii to practice. I could have. What a wonderful place to go practice in Hawaii. I didn't go back. I stay here because I wanted to provide a service for the people over here. We are running at this time our budget is doing real well. One of our investigators reported that we didn't have enough gloves and body bags. She forgot to look into the other closet. We got bags and bags of. So you know, we are doing real well. Dr. Mitz has done this for a long time, and he really did a wonderful job. I wanted to follow his footsteps, and there are a few places that I really wanted to concentrate on. Number one, I want to concentrate on the services that we provide for you guys. Want to provide the service for your loved ones. When they passed on, I wanted to take them with respect and honor. And then another thing that is coming up, we haven't really addressed it, but I worked in the emergency room when I came in. Work in the emergency room, I took care of Fairview Hospital, and I also worked at the Lakewood Hospital at that time. Now I'm taking care of also the drug rehab in Fairview Hospital. So I have 3 areas that I took care of that is very helpful to the people in this area. You understand that opiate problem is a big problem in this, not only here, but in the United States. I take care of those kind of people up here. I also take care of the mentally ill ones on the 7th floor. These are your loved ones. They don't plan on getting these illnesses, but I help them out. We give them the best kind of care we know how. We don't want anybody to die because of overdose or any other mental illnesses. And I think I'm the best one among all these guys over here. I am more qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. Our third candidate now, Dr. Eric Melanson. Please state your qualifications and your top 2 priorities, if elected, and how you would address them.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Melanson. I'm also from South Louisiana. Wish I would be from Hawaii, it would be nice. I was born in Lunch, Louisiana. I grew up in Hahnville, Louisiana. I attended Hahnville High School, graduated from LSU, and of course I've been purple and gold through and through since. Graduated from LSU Medical School in 1994, attended Earl K. Long for residency, and had my first experience with coroner's office working with Dr. Alfredo Suarez doing autopsies before I even went to med school. Since that time, that fascination has kind of continued to kindle. I practiced in Plaquemine for almost 13 years. Left there because the hospital was failing and there was no way out. Unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of the same thing here. Was welcomed with open arms down here, and it felt like this has been my home ever since. For the last 10 years, I've served the community as a primary care doctor specializing in internal medicine, which I feel the coroner's office more aligns with the field of internal medicine because, like Dr. Albert said, we do a lot of the care for psychiatric patients, drug-addicted patients, and we see death and life every day. The compassionate care that we need to provide during times of struggle and death is certainly important across the board. I think the 2 things I bring to the office, it's going to be a hands-on approach. I do think there's some streamlining of processes that can take place. I do believe that we can look for ways to save money. I don't know how we could potentially be profitable, Trey, but I've never heard a coroner's office making money. If they did, I don't know what we're selling. But ultimately, I believe the strongest point I think I'd like to advocate is to be an advocate for healthcare. Serve as a chief medical officer almost for the parish. There's a lot of ways we can help improve the quality of care here and educate our society of what the coroner's office has to offer. Not only do we do the drug addiction, things like that, we can do interdictions for people who are mentally disabled, older patients, and people who are unable to care for themselves. A lot of families don't realize those services are provided by the coroner's office. So education is certainly a top priority for me. Would help if the parish also would utilize the service of the medical field to help issue warnings for things that are available to us. We have the highest incidence of West Nile virus here in the state of Louisiana. It would be good for me to sit there and help pound on parish president here to work on mosquito abatement. We've got a lot of things to talk about. But pro healthcare is certainly the way it should be, and a streamline some processes would be the ultimate goal. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dr. Melanson. Now Now we will begin with our first round of questions that have been provided by the public. Each candidate will have a different question and will have 2 minutes to reply. We will begin with Dr. Maurice. Even I haven't read these questions yet. What I'll do is I'll actually ask it twice so you have a good understanding of the question. How would you run an efficient office and stay within budget? How would you run an efficient office and stay within budget?
This goes back to running this as a business. The coroner's office has a budget of about $270,000 a year. We are sending out most of our autopsies, all of our autopsies, and relying on other parishes which costs a lot of money to do a lot of the work that we could be doing ourselves. There are inventory control. There are a lot of issues with the office where there are cost-saving opportunities. The changing the mentality of the office and making it a mentality where every single body, every person that's with the office is looking for ways to cut costs, going for grants. There are lots and lots of coroner's offices that write grants and get grant money to help facilitate the expenses that they're incurring in running the office. I'm very good friends with Jerry Spanovich, who's the Jefferson Parish coroner. He's given me lots of tips on running a more efficient office. I'm friends with Vic Tedasco, who's the coroner of Terrebonne, John King, who's the coroner of Lafourche. I have unfortunately, lots of contacts with other offices that actually do make money, Dr. Lawson. And I'd like to bring our office into that next generation and create efficiencies and just run it as a business so that we can take the best care of our population, the best care of our community, and actually be a coroner's office where every other coroner's office looks up to us and says, wow, look at what they've done over in St. Mary Parish. The morgue is another issue. There are so many opportunities. 2 minutes is not long enough, but running it as a business, creating efficiencies is the way to move forward for our community.
All right, thank you. We'll move to Dr. Albert. How much time can you dedicate, if elected, to the coroner's position? How much time can you dedicate, if elected, to the coroner's position?
You know, this is a very funny question because this job is 24-hour job, but it is a part-time job. And for the past 2 days, I think you don't understand, but for the past 2 days, there were fatalities in our community, and I was there within a few minutes. And I promised to keep doing the same thing. Even if our investigators were late, I will make sure that your loved ones are not going to be neglected for a long period of time. I try to get there within 5-10 minutes. Unless I live in the community and I've been here for a long time, I know how to get there in no time. And my primary goal is to give these people, your loved ones, the service that they need. The services we are talking about money, but when we think about money, we make this office as a business, and I don't think that's the right way to go. The right way to go is to serve you people. Your loved ones are going to be gone forever. You're going to meet them in heaven? Maybe, maybe not. But this is the time you're going to really take care of them, and we promise to take care of them with honor and respect.
Thank you. Dr. Melanson. Are all deaths in St. Mary Parish reported to the coroner's office? Are all deaths in St. Mary Parish reported to the coroner's office?
Are they all, or should they all? I guess it's the question. Technically, not all deaths are required to be reported to the coroner's office, only in coroner's cases. People who are on hospice, Typically, when they die, that's not a coroner's case. So people who die at home in the event of a hospice situation wouldn't be notified for the coroner. People who've been in a hospital for a period of time or have a known cause of death would not be a coroner's case. People who die within 24 hours of surgery would be a coroner's case. People who die within 24 hours of being in a hospital would be a coroner's case. Traffic fatalities would be a coroner's case. Multiple other areas where they may or may not. Just leaving it at the helm of just saying should they or shouldn't they, I've always said we should err on the side of notifying the coroner and let them decide. At times there's patients I've had in the past where it was questionable. I wasn't certain of a cause of death, even though they were there for more than 24 hours. I want the physicians in the community, not just here, but also on the west side, to feel comfortable with calling the coroner's office and saying, hey, look, I'm not sure what's going on with this patient. What can I do? At that point, I'll be willing to offer limited autopsies if we're looking for a certain thing. I can remember an infectious disease case personally that I had that died fairly quickly, and I didn't know if it truly would fall under the guise of the coroner's office, but unfortunately we didn't do an autopsy. I think there's some valuable information that we could have had from that case that might have served our public better, specifically infectious disease, as a woman died of pneumonia very quickly. In cases of public health, certainly I want to know about every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Please pass the mic back to Dr. Maurice. Now we will have round 2 of questions. This question is for Dr. Maurice. How long does an autopsy take, and how do you get a copy of the coroner's report? How long does an autopsy take, and how do you get a copy of the coroner's report?
So we usually send depending on the situation, we'll send the bodies either to Lafayette Parish or to Jefferson Parish. Both parishes, on average, take anywhere from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. It takes a long time to get the final report. But the body, we do get a preliminary report relatively quickly. Those reports are put into a system that's a statewide system. It's on the computer that we can access. And so usually within a few weeks, we're able to get a preliminary report, but we can't use that as a final report until the autopsy is completed, which can take months to complete.
All right, thank you very much. Pass the mic to Dr. Albert. It's a long one. Who can make arrangements, and what is the procedure for the disposition of a decedent if the next of kin is unwilling or unable to act? What happens if no one claims the body? Who can make arrangements, and what is the procedure for the disposition of a decedent if the next of kin is unwilling or unable to act? And what happens if no one claims the body?
What happens in this case, if nobody claims the body and the family do not have the money to pay for it, we usually pay the what you call the expenses. The coroner's office pay for the expenses. The procedure is you take the patient, the deceased, to the mortuary, and ask the family if they would pay for it. Now the family will give you the result to tell you whether yes or no. If they cannot, one of the things that we do is we want to make sure that you really don't have the money. And if you don't have the money, the coroner's office will pay for the expenses. The problem is if you let us take care of the patient and bury the patient, then you have no right to get even the death certificate. All the death certificate and everything else belong to the coroners, and the coroners take over everything else. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Lawson. Is the coroner trained to preserve evidence at the scene of a death? Is the coroner trained to preserve evidence at the scene of a death?
The coroner should be trained to preserve evidence at the scene of a death. We could preserve it too, probably. I think that's part of what all of us have talked about in the fact that we don't have probably the correct training for all the investigators and probably even of ourselves. The coroner's job is one that most of us come into and know most of what you have to do, but certainly there's a lot of on-the-job training. There are special courses geared specifically for coroner's investigation. There's a lot of information that we need to collect. Most of the time from the investigators from the Sheriff's Department and other municipalities, we're just utilizing the films and footages that they're taking rather than taking our own. Part of the plan I'd like to have is have a dedicated coroner's unit to collect that evidence and also secure the scene so that we don't mess up an investigation. I'd hate for somebody in the case of a homicide walk free because we didn't do our jobs correctly. I think ultimately by having a dedicated coroner's unit, we serve a lot of purposes. Number one, we identify us as an entity at the crime scene or the death scene. We also provide some professionalism to the office when it comes to that by being uniformed and having a specific vehicle. And we also look more professional. I think we ultimately can be an asset to the Sheriff's Department and other police departments by being able to add to their investigation with the information that we collect. And then by having a collaborative effort with those guys, we can certainly make our strength better here in the parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Each candidate will now be given 3 minutes to summarize his candidacy.
We've acknowledged that the coroners and the investigators they don't have the training that's necessary, and it's because it's not quote unquote in the budget. It's not in the budget because the office is not currently in a situation where they can afford that. Until I get the budget straightened out to where we can have like a unit that Dr. Ross was talking about, a specialized unit with nice cars and good stickers on it, that's costing money. Until I get to the point where we can actually do that, I'm going to be giving my salary to pay for training for the investigators, to pay for supplies that are needed, to pay for all these things that I think will make the department better. And so I'm happy to do this and serve the community at no salary whatsoever until we get the budget straight and I get the office run like a business where we can actually afford to do things that at this current time we're not able to afford to do.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. Next, Dr. Albert, 3 minutes to summarize your candidacy.
I am very glad that I was given this opportunity. I want to thank you all for coming here. As you know, as an intern medicine, we study everything. I study everything from head to toe. And so when you get into this business of coroner, it is my expertise. I know how to do I don't know how to do the politics, so you guys gotta forgive me, but to do the job as a coroner, I'm an expert. I can read Dr. Melancon's history and physical and come up with the diagnosis. The autopsy is only to confirm what I suspect. And a lot of times you don't have to do the autopsy because you know what's going on. That way you can also serve the people. Instead of using your money for autopsies, we used the pathologists in the past to do our autopsies, but we couldn't afford it. We do not have enough autopsies in this area, so they left. But we did have people to do our autopsies in this area. We do not have enough money. We couldn't afford them. I also like to say that my main concern again, is the service. I don't want to make money. We are doing this thing for our families, for our loved ones, and not to make money. Coroner's office is for a service that we give to the people in this community, and not to make money for ourselves, whether you're going to give back to them later or take it or whatever it is. I don't think coroner's office is supposed to make money. We are making enough, sufficient for our needs. And so, because of all of these things, I pledge that I will continue to serve the people in this area. Like the whole prophet says, I wanted to tell you this, that you learn wisdom, that when you are in the service of your fellow man, you are in the service of God. We have a wonderful prayer by Brother Romero this afternoon. And if we do not believe in God, that all of you guys guaranteed will die. All you guys going to go up to heaven. And you're going to meet your Maker. I want to make sure that when you leave this earth, you leave this in honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. And Dr. Malonzo, you have 3 minutes to summarize your candidacy.
Well, first, I'd like to thank the Chamber again for giving us the opportunity. I do think that the work necessary is going to be provided by someone who has the commitment and the drive to get things done. I think I've proven myself over and over again as being a member of the community, and certainly have the drive. Fortunately for me, I have very smart kids, and they've educated themselves well, and they're out of my pocket, so financially the money is nothing. And I do think I have the time to dedicate to this service. St. Mary Parish has given a lot to me over the last 10 years, and I'm looking forward to giving back. What happens when I give back, I feel a sense of pride, and the pride continues to grow and things get better. We can talk about the budgets, we can talk about the needs and all the other things we'd like to do, but I agree with Dr. Albert. It's the commitment to the people, and it's a commitment to the caring, and it's a commitment to our society that you need to give to be a good coroner. If you can't give that, then you can't be a coroner, in my opinion. Being a primary care doctor, being able to look at those things, and Dr. Albert, yes, you can read my H&P, that's only because I dictate everything. But being able to decipher a code that most people don't understand is a way to help save money. And it's a simple thing. It just requires the expertise to know, hey, look, here's a lady with all these different processes. I plan on spending that time. I have the time to do it, and I want to continue to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Malonzo. And I want to thank each of you for participating in tonight's work for the coroner's office. You may now leave and be seated in the audience.